going to record this. So if we're looking at number 5 talks about distributing, or we have 15 plots of land.
Morning.
Thank you. We have 15 plots of land, and we want to randomly assign to 3 treatments. So there are 3 major steps of ways that you write a nice paragraph explaining how to do so. The first step is you want to assign your numbers to the subjects. And this is just a header, but I'm going to write below what the sentence would say. So sentence 1, you're always assigning numbers to subjects. So I would say assign numbers 1 through 15 to the plots of land. Step number 2 is how you're going to randomly choose them. So step number 2, I'll just call randomness or random selection. So you can always use a random number generator. You don't even have to have one. You just say, like, I will use a random number generator to do this, this, and this.
So you don't have to use the hat
you don't have to use the hat method, but you can do both. So I can show you both ways. If I were to use a random number generator, I would say using a random number generator.
Wow.
So, aka a calculator, is a random number generator. So using a random number generator, comma, the third part is, or the third section of this is deciding like how many per treatment group and how to distribute them. So the third part is like how many per treatment. So using a random number generator, comma, the first 5 plots selected will, I guess, get, is it a fertilizer? Is that what it is? Fertilizer A. The second 5 plots selected will get fertilizer B, and remaining 5 get C. Using a random number so all you would really need to write is the stuff in purple. I just put the stuff in pink so that you can see it.
Would you please send?
So that was a really good question, because sometimes it'll ask you for a stratified or a blocking. So I'm going to put a little star here. If it's stratified or blocking, then the sentence before assigning numbers would be how you're going to stratify and or block. So I would say, first I would separate the boys and girls.
Success.
Into 2 groups, something like that. Then I would say boys get numbers 1 through 10, girls get 1 through 14, or however many boys and girls you have. And then do 2 separate random selections, 1 for boys, 1 for girls, each getting all treatments. Yes?
Does strata have to be equal in number?
No. They just have to be separated by group. If I were to do the hat method, because either one works for all of them. If I were to do the hat method, I'm going to erase this.
So blocking and like stratified ed are almost like the same thing. They're like both put into groups and stuff.
Yes. Stratified is for observational studies,
Yeah.
and then blocking is for experiments. So they're the
Yeah.
same thing, just in
Just
two
one
different
is
columns.
used.
If I were to do the hat method, then I would say, so for random selection, I would say write numbers 1 through 15 on slips of paper
I'll keep
and
the size.
place in hat.
Don't forget the equal size paper.
Equal
Don't
dimensions.
forget to mix well, because if you just place them in the hat, they are not random, unfortunately.
So how does
Mix well. Then you would say the first, I could have left the last part. The first 5 numbers selected get A, blah, blah, blah. So the last sentence is the same. The only difference would be this. You could mix very well if you wanted.
Can you
Mix vigorously.
very well?
You could.
Mixed to
Implement that. So for part A, control group, you need to say comparison and you need context. For part B, you need to read it from start to finish, and I could be able to implement it. So if I went and read every one of your papers, I would be able to get a random assignment to treatment groups. So you need to assign the numbers, that's part 1. 2 is use a random number generator or a hat and mix well. Then you need to say how you're going to put them in treatment groups. So there's 3 groups. 100 go to A, 100 go to B, 100 go to a control group. So you needed to say that.
We made ours way more complicated.
For the last part, it said rather than using a completely randomized design, we want to try and block. So one group of researchers proposes blocking on clinics and the other one blocks by breed. How would you decide which of the two? The correct answer is you needed to say that you're going to block by breed. Not block by clinic, so you needed
It didn't ask.
You
which
needed to
one,
say-
it's how would you determine?
Yeah.
how would you decide which one?
So I said
That would imply that you were
So it's not telling
saying
you which
which
one
one
affects.
affects
It's not saying to pick one.
So part C is scored by saying you need to argue that the variable with a stronger relationship to joint and health should be used. So you needed to say, if you didn't say breed, that may imply breed, but you would choose the variable that affects
If you got it
the
right,
response, aka joint and hip health, because that's my response the most. So therefore, the size of the dog is probably going to, and the breed is going to affect your joint and hip health, not the clinic, because clinics see all different types of breeds, all different types of joint and health problems.
so
It's more heterogeneous, whereas a breed is more homogeneous in terms of their health.
So if you said breed but you got Y wrong. is that
If you just said
partially
breed,
correct?
So block your breed.
Marginally
Is that what-
correct. Partially.
It was
you would get a partial if you just said breed but didn't explain why.
If I did explain why, but I
But it
got
wasn't
wrong.
correct.
You need
That's
to
fine.
block the
Partial.
breed because it's the most confounding.
Let's look at part A. So were 2 ways that you could have answered this. I think that the completely randomized design is probably the easiest, but you might have taken it a step further and decided to block. So the graders accepted both answers. Completely randomized, you give everybody a number between 1 and 24.
Pre-test.
Then the first 12 selected go to the physical dissection. The last 12 go to the computer software dissection. Which, random fun fact, I did a biology class at a community college the summer before my freshman year of college, and we did computer software dissecting, and it was weird.
Because budgets are low.
Yeah, you took the little knife and you would drag it over, and
I think we
it's
did
like
that in like
it was
8th grade or
really
7th
weird.
grade.
I think I'll do that in 7th
If you
grade.
did anybody do a randomized block in here?
That's really hard.
Jeremy did.
You
But I
nerd.
did it based on their pretest score.
That's what they did. So they took the 2 lowest pretest scores for 12 blocks all the way up to the 2 highest pretest scores. So we paired them by pretest scores, and then if you did it like this, the 12 lowest and the 12 highest, that would also work. and then 6 and 6, 6 and 6. Is that how you did it?
No, I did it like, just, I didn't really like state, like I just kinda said into homogeneous groups by like, grade level.
Okay, so you would have to be a little bit more specific if you're going to block. So you could have blocked half and half or in pairs of 2, and then assigned each student a number between 1 and 2. 1 goes to one treatment group, 1 goes to the other treatment group.
Half and half.
Yeah,
How
if
would
you
you do
did,
that? Would you do like
if you
that
did
by
half and half, if you did half and half, you would do the 12 lowest and the 12 highest,
Yeah.
like split them in half, and then from there, 6 would get the computer, 6 would get the physical, 6 would get the computer, 6 would get the physical.
How would you do the 2 pairs?
So you got
Would just
smart kids.
You do the 2 highest, 2 lowest, and then next 2 lowest. Next
And then you would just compare within our lowest and our highest. So once you block, you only compare within the blocks. I'm not going to compare between these two. Doesn't make sense.
That actually is a better way to do it.
It is. It's just more complicated. So you
Yeah,
could have gotten
it
full
requires
credit
more
either
work,
way.
so I'm not-
You could have gotten full credit either way, but blocking would probably be the
As a
best.
scientist, that's what I'm-
Okay, then part B. Part B, it said,
Part B.
it said, provide a specific example to support your answer of why self-selection could jeopardize a statistically valid comparison. You do not want to jeopardize things. So the example they provided in the answer was that suppose you have a frog-loving student. So suppose there is a frog-loving student. They self-select. There will not be a significant difference
Sig fig.
between pre and post. So if they self-select, there may not be a big difference. It's not accurately depicting the difference. So your answer, you could have said anything. However, what it was looking for, the first part of it, what it wanted was you wanted to give a reasonable characteristic. So just give an example. Needed to be something specific.
Like their friends wanted to do.
And 2, you needed to say something about how that could change the actual difference between pre and post. Like how that would affect the difference between your pre and your post scores if you self-selected it. So you're not getting an accurate, whoa. You're not getting an accurate result because people are self-selecting. It's kind of like a judgmental sample, convenient sample.
They're based on their preference.
Yes.